I am not afraid to unfollow, unfriend, or uninvite whoever doesn't have my best interests at heart. No drama, just not willing to hold space for it. Welcome to this week's episode of the Toya Talks podcast episode that is entitled Poverty Mindset. I have scoped this episode out and I'm so excited to deliver it. But again, something happened today and it reinforced to me the reason why I needed to do this episode. And in the week, I've been having conversations with friends and, you know, one of my friends was like, Toya, you need to talk about our mindset. We know that the constructs of the workplace have not been built in our favor. We know all of this, but sometimes what limits us from reaching our financial earning potential is the poverty mindset that we refuse to distance ourselves from, but instead take into workplaces, take into negotiations, and more importantly, take into our homes. And we continuously commit to indulge in this mindset that only ends up making us angry because you undervalue yourself and then expect somebody to tell you what your value is. How can someone tell you your value unless you value yourself? Unless you have the confidence in your own skill set to place a value that is reasonable, why do you expect somebody else to do that for you? Why is it that as Black women, it is almost expected of us to be modest about talking about money and talking about salary expectations? And I think what bothers me a lot about this topic is the fact that I'm having conversations with friends, I'm seeing what's happening in the market, I'm hearing stories from recruiters whereby I have friends who are recruiters and they tell me their experiences of our Black sisters undervaluing themselves. And then I'll get dilemmas in the mailbox and about kind of renegotiating their salary. And the first question I ask is, when you accepted the role, how many years ago, how many months ago did you negotiate? And I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. So I want to explore that a little bit. I want to talk about it a bit more. And I'm going to hope to God that this really touches somebody, because there is nothing more attacking to our self-confidence than to walk into an organization and after a period of time realize that you're the lowest paid person on that team, but you do the most work, you make the most sacrifice, the most sweat belongs to you, but other people have learned to charge more for in terms of their salary but don't do as much work as you do. When I created the Negotiation Masterclass, maybe some of you are thinking that I just thought I hit the record button. I literally shared with you all of my industry secrets. And when I talk about industry secrets, I don't want no one coming here using the excuse, oh, but I'm from so-and-so industry. This podcast is to help all Black women, irrespective of your sector, your job, navigate the world of work. And as we're navigating the world of work, it is the racism, macroaggressions, it's the politics, it's the racism, it's the victimization, but also learning how to navigate salary negotiations and understanding what our value is. We have allowed a white construct to devalue us so much that sometimes we're just so grateful for a job that we know is not paying us what we should. We are so afraid of them rescinding a job offer that will much rather undervalue ourselves than to explore the conversation of negotiation, because we do not place enough respect on our skills, what we do, what we can bring to the table. And even if you don't have the desired experience, somebody is interviewing you for a job. Do you understand the magnitude of that? This person who is interviewing you sees your potential, but you refuse to see the potential in yourself. Because if you did, you would make sure you open up conversations of negotiating a salary. Do you know that even if I get offered a role where the salary makes sense, I will still negotiate? Because I understand the psychology of negotiation, and I also understand that a lot of these organizations, a lot of these white constructs bank on us having a lack of confidence, having the inability to know how to negotiate. They expect us to be grateful to just accept what they give us. And I'm telling you, when you go into a role that you refuse to negotiate for, you're taking crumbs. Because your earning potential is what you set for yourself. I've gone into roles, okay, like my recent role. Okay, yeah, commercial contract manager, 8 years, great. But I've never been in this industry before. This particular industry where I am transferring those commercial contract manager skills, I've never ever been in it before. I earn more than everyone on my team. Because I place respect on my skill set. Because your skill set isn't just about how you do the job. It's also my commitment to doing a great job. It's also confidence in myself to learn the job. I will do what it takes. I will make the sacrifices that even though I don't understand this industry, I've never been in it before, I'll make it my purpose during the course of this employment, this contract, whatever it is, to understand it and to deliver. That is a skill. You do realize skills are more than just the job. It's the ability to learn. And I keep telling you guys time and time again, the only person that is going to place respect on your skill set is you. But the lack of confidence that I'm seeing amongst us as black women, I have to pause kind of looking at the white construct and then turn the focus on us. Some of the dilemmas I get where you're now worried about how you're going to open the conversation. When I ask a couple of questions, I realise that you undervalued yourself at the point in which a job was offered to you. And some of you are seeking to use the pandemic as an excuse to not negotiate. And I refuse to accept it. Not when there is a negotiation masterclass on the toytalks.com website. You will not come to me and ask me to help you negotiate a salary in a job that you didn't even bother to negotiate when you started in that job. But this is the bit that I don't understand. So somebody help me. Make this make sense to me. When you guys are maybe looking to start dating, you will have a list in your head or written down of what you expect from the person you're going on a date. But you don't even have a list of expectations for yourself when you're being offered a job role. I need to understand. So dick is more important than money? Y'all need to make it make sense to me. Because for me, I need to get paid. I need to get paid. And I need to get paid something that will make me get out of my bed in the morning. Because sometimes work be getting hard. I need to be able to look in my bank account or look at my last pay slip. Do you understand? Money is a motivator. It's just not the sole motivator for me. You know, I was on Clubhouse the other day and they were talking about, you know, black women enjoying luxury without criticism. And I think it was off the back of something that was trending on Twitter. A young lady had shared a car that she'd bought and people were just getting onto her, like cussing her out. Like, did you really buy it? The car's crap. Did you get it on finance? You know, all them salty things. And most of the people that were attacking her were black women. And when this was happening, she was on Clubhouse, she was talking about it. For me, what was really interesting is that it came from black women. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because a lot of those black women that were attacking the achievements of that black woman, it's because of the lack of confidence that we have in ourselves. So when we see somebody using their confidence to achieve what they need to, what they want to, and realizing financial goals, the ones that are still stuck in that limiting mindset are resentful. It's born from jealousy. So you see this episode, yeah? This episode is gonna rattle a few of you, especially those of you who are committed to not realizing your financial goals because you limit yourself either through a poverty mindset or the inability to understand what your worth is. You're waiting for someone to go, hi, just want to let you know what your worth is. That's never ever gonna happen. And if you're expecting a white construct owned by white people to come and tell you what your worth is, goddamn. When a white person tells me what my worth is, and they don't say, hey, this is your worth, it's when they offer me a salary, that scares me into understanding I'm worth at least double that. Do you understand? For me, this episode is going to shake, and it needs to shake the foundation of the limiting mindset when it comes to money. Because until you are ready to challenge your views on money and how you limit yourself in your ability to achieve, you are always going to remain in that same tax bracket. How about it? Yeah, Toya said it. Listen, let me tell you something here. I don't want to be paid what I'm worth because you can't afford me. That's my attitude. I do not want to be paid what I'm worth. because you can't afford me. I want to be paid what I deserve. And that is on Mary Had a Little Lamb. Yeah, you pay me what I deserve. Now, don't get it wrong. Some people are delusional. Yeah, there is a delusion that people have, because my thing is, it's what leverage do you have? And be honest with yourself, right? If you know you have completely no work experience, none whatsoever, it doesn't mean you should cheat yourself out of achieving or negotiating what you think you deserve. No. But it's about starting from a reasonable standpoint. And again, I discussed this on the Negotiation Masterclass. For me personally, I see it as my parents came here as a first generation immigrants. My dad came to this country, he was a kitchen porter. For some of you who don't understand what that is, my dad was washing pots at a restaurant. My mum was a checkout girl working for Safeway. So it's not like, oh, my parents came to the land of the riches. There was nothing here. Do you understand? Ground up. Yeah? We knew when it was time to go to bed in my house, because the lights, electricity, everything will just go off. We could be in the middle of eating and it will go off, and we will just find our way. There was always a torch somewhere. From there, we will go to bed. So I know what a place of lack looks like. I know what a place of struggle looks like. We know that. We know. Listen, some of us, we are the first generation that have seen over a certain pay. We know that. But when you allow the foundation and the entry level of lack to continue to dominate your life, what you are going to find is that you're going to walk into organizations and continuously find that you are the lowest paid individual. Because it happened to me. Every organization I was going into in my 20s, when I now had enough, I had leverage, right? I had a bit of leverage. Every organization I was working in, as time would go on, I would see a pattern, right? And the pattern was, and there was many things that were going on in different organizations, but the pattern was I was always the lowest paid person. Always. Because that was the measure of how low my confidence was. That in the order of pay, I was the lowest. And my confidence was low. How can, and you see one thing, let me tell you something about white people. When they know that you have this gratitude limiting, lack of confidence mindset, they will deliberately force you to remain there. How? Because they'll bring other people into the organization and good old will go and train that person. You're training somebody who earns probably double what you earn. You are training somebody that earns almost double what you earn and doesn't put in half the amount of effort that you do. But you're still the lowest paid. And then afterwards, you then want to go and now renegotiate. Well, how? Where are you going to start? Well, you could try, of course. But my thing is this. If you go into an organization and you explore negotiation, if you just, because the worst thing they can say is no. And I'm going to tell you something about me, right? If I'm offered a role and an organization refuses to negotiate on the salary, I will reject that role. That's where I'm sitting right now. And I've been doing that for the last 4 years. I refuse. I won't take it. Because if you're inflexible at the point in which you're giving me a job offer, then it tells me that during the course of this employment, you're going to be inflexible. I can't work like that. You'll be inflexible now when we explore pay rises. You'll be inflexible now when it's time for me to ask for annual leave. You'll be inflexible now when I'm off sick and you expect me to still work. No. Flexibility is important as well. It's one of my prerequisites. If you cannot be flexible as an employer, then I cannot dumb down who I am. I can't allow you to trample all over what I'm going to bring to your organization. You know, I have episodes where I talk about believing in your source. Let's put that to one side for a moment. Who works just to pay the bills? Because I'm telling you, I don't. I don't work to just pay my bills. I work to pay my bills and enjoy the fruits of my labor. One of my friends, she's a nurse. And a few years ago, you know, she'd done all her courses and everything. And she is, if anyone was born to do anything, my friend was born to be a nurse. She's absolutely amazing. And one day she said to me, you know what, Toya? I know that I can be head nurse. I know I can. And she goes, there is an opening in my department, and I'm going to apply for it. And one of my motivations is I get more money. In fact, she goes, the pay increase from where I am now to head nurse is a lot of money. I goes, okay. She told me what the bracket was and everything. When she went for the role, I know how NHS works where there's pay brackets, but she should be at the top end of that bracket. My friend she got the role, and she went into entry level of that bracket. Yeah? So when the Negotiation Masterclass came out, she listened to it. She rang me. She said, Toya, I wish that I had the humility to have listened to you when I was negotiating, because I would have been at the top end of that bracket rather than the lower end. I said, you know what the problem is? The problem is you didn't open with negotiation. When they offered it to you, you didn't even negotiate to try and get as close to the top end as possible. So it is going to be difficult to negotiate now that you've already... She said, I know. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the skills and the things that you've taught on the Negotiation Masterclass, and I'm going to open up the conversation, because she goes, I have a lot more leverage now, Toya. And I listened to that masterclass, and everything you said about leverage is the truth. And she goes, I've done the benchmarking. I've done everything. She said, it's going to be an uphill struggle, and it's the struggle that I could have avoided had I explored negotiation in the beginning, but I'm going to go ahead. Anyway, long story short, my friend is the head nurse. She's been the head nurse now for about 2 years, and she is now at the top end of that bracket. She's now looking at her next kind of chapter in her career. She said to me, had she known how to negotiate properly from the beginning, she wouldn't have had to do the uphill struggle back and forth with them, now that she's now looking to get at the top end of the bracket. And I said to her, take that to one side. What you need to explore is the reason why. It was your mindset. What was it? And you know what she said to me? Honestly, she said, I just felt grateful that they would even consider me to be head nurse. And I said, and that's the problem. Gratitude. You're grateful to them that they consider you. They're grateful. But I said to her, look at it like this. They don't have to get to know somebody else. They don't have to get an outsider in. They know what they're getting with you. They know you're exceptional at what you do. And more importantly, you're dedicated. Those things are leverage. Now, whilst you've done it kind of back to front, you've now learned that when you go on to your next opportunity, which could be head nurse in another hospital, you're going in negotiating from the gate. She said, Toya, I'm telling you now, before I accept an offer, I'm listening to your negotiation masterclass, because that's how I'm going in. She goes, I'm going to take this as a learning lesson. I'm going to take it as a learning lesson. And whilst, yes, I'm at the top end of the bracket, I could have been there a lot quicker. And maybe if I'd entered head nurse at the top end of the bracket, I would have been moving on sooner. And I said, exactly. And that's how you have to look at it. That sometimes it's us as black women that limit ourselves. And it comes from a lack of confidence. And all you're doing when you allow yourself to indulge in that lack of confidence is build up resentment. And then you start blaming the system and the constructs. But we know they're there. You guys have more than what I did. I didn't have a Toy Talks platform. I didn't have an example of what salaries look like or an example of how to negotiate. No one ever taught me about the concept of negotiation and why you should do it. I was just happy to be here, to be honest. But I want to also position something else to you. You know, men, whether they're black men, white men, the level of confidence they have when they chat shit is the level of confidence we need to have when we're going into these negotiations or we're going into these interviews, you know. Because one thing I'm going to tell you, and I'm actually going to say it more about black men. Yeah? Because I have proximity to black men. My man's black. My brothers are black. Let me tell you something. A black man, yeah, will stand in your face and tell you what he wants in a job. Not all of them, some of them, I know. Yeah, I'm not generalizing here. But that confidence that we hear them on Clubhouse as they're beating their chest. Some of them, they don't know shit. That's the confidence you need to bring when you're going into interviews. There is a lot to learn from our male counterparts, you know. Do you not understand that in as much as we know that black women are unfairly treated, received in the workplace. Some of that treatment is how we treat ourselves. When you come from a foundation of lack and desperation, you do question your worth, and that's the reality. You do. And then you go into these organizations and they make you feel worthless because some of them make you feel invisible. Some of them are intimidating deliberately because they know that you are so keen or eager. So we have to do the work. You have to do the work. Because if you do not do the work, you will remain in the same bracket of money. You will not move. You'll probably go down. You will not go up. There will be no plus. There will be minuses all the time. Let me tell you, after I worked at Goldman Sachs, I had the experience of working in Goldman Sachs. I was working at a few other places. I took a massive pay cut. I took a 50% pay cut. And then I was working for a very, very well-renowned charity. And for me, I knew that I needed to take a step back a little bit because number one, I wasn't happy kind of where I was. Number two, I didn't realize the value in working at Goldman Sachs. I didn't understand that level of leverage and power. I didn't realize it. And also as well, I was intimidated by the responsibility that more money would bring. And then I questioned within myself whether I was ready. And that is like a sickness. Because no one's ever going to ask you if you're ready. You have to really push yourself. You have to know that sometimes you're not ready and you get ready as you're in the role. Do you know that pay cut that I took? It was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because they worked me like a dog. You know what a dog is? They worked me like a dog. And I was so angry. And they would have contractors come in earning a type of day rate that I never ever thought would ever be in my reach. And these contractors, they would openly say it. What are you gonna do? They'd say it. And there was this one guy, he coming as a contractor. I've never heard bullshit from anyone in my existence more than I've heard from this guy. But he was able to convince some of the senior members of staff that he was the shit. I'd been there longer and they're telling me that I should go and ask him to sign off on certain things that I was doing. That is the level of treading on my confidence that this organisation did. And I deserved it. Because who told me to go and take a 50% pay cut to go there? So they were giving me 50% treatment. What was I expecting? As that employment continued, what was becoming evident is Mr. Chat Shit all day wasn't delivering. But the person who was paid the less money, me, I was delivering over and above, over and beyond. I got to a point where I realised the reason I'm sitting in this job whilst everybody here earns more than me is because I didn't think I was ready to earn. I didn't believe I was ready to earn twice, 3 times or 4 times as much. I had come from Goldman Sachs. I had come from PricewaterhouseCoopers. I was a big deal. I was a big deal B. And you know how you know that you're undervaluing yourself is when you tell people like where you used to work and they look at you like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I was looking at them like, why are you asking me what am I doing here? I'm just grateful to be here. I have a job. And you know that arrogant piece of shit that just chat shit all day? Do you know what he said to me one day? He goes, when you realise what you bring to an organisation, you'll start getting paid more than what you deserve. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, when you realise what you bring to an organisation, you'll get paid even more than what you deserve. What could I say? What could I say? And I got to a point where I realised, you know what? I need to leave. I need to leave here. I'm ready. I'm ready. Because what was happening is I was earning enough money to pay my bills, but I wasn't earning enough money to go on like multiple holidays. Living that luxury that I know that that's who I am. I love luxury. I have a high taste. Even when I think my taste is not high, I will touch something and say I like this, and I think it's the cheapest thing, it's the most expensive thing. So naturally, and why not? Why shouldn't I be able to afford the finer things in life if I work hard enough for it? But you can't get the finer things in life if you continue to undervalue yourself or think that you're not worthy or wait to be ready. Always waiting at a bus stop for the bus that never comes. And when the bus comes, there's only 2 buses that come and everybody's trying to get on there. Waiting, always waiting. Waiting for the opportunity, waiting for the right time. Waiting to be ready to waiting. And as you're waiting, other people are jumping on to opportunity, knowing that they're not ready, but they'll get ready in the job. This is more than fake it till you make it, by the way. This is having the potential to earn a certain amount of money and be in a certain tax bracket because you've worked hard and done the sacrifice, or at least you're willing to. Plus all the stuff that you've accomplished to get to that point. When I left that particular role, I handed in my resignation. Do you know they offered me twice the amount of money that I was on just to stay? Which tells me that for 2.5 years, I wasn't getting paid what I deserved. And that was the ultimate slap in the face. I slapped myself with my own hands twice. I can't blame them. They got me on the cheap. If I was them, I'd get me on the cheap too. And then they had the cheek to change my job title. So then I was doing more than one job on the cheap. One of my friends contacted me a few weeks ago, and she said to me a mutual friend had been headhunted for a particular role. So when she was headhunted, they said to her, listen, your skills are amazing. What would be your salary expectation? So she went to my friend and told my friends, and my friend said, you could get X amount. So you could get, for example, 70k. The girl goes, oh, do you think I can? My friend was like, yeah, of course you can get 70k. Do you know that when she went back to those people that were headhunting her, she said, oh, I want 30k. They said, 30k? She said, yeah. I said, okay, we'll come back to you. Do you know that this girl told my friend that she asked for 30k? And before my friend could say anything, she said, that's what I'm comfortable with. My friend rang me and told me. I said, first of all, she goes, Toya, don't start. I told her about your platform and your masterclasses. Even me, I've bought your masterclasses, but this girl, she don't want to listen. I said to her, it's not about her not listening. Do you know what it's about? It's about that statement that she said. She goes, this is what I am comfortable with. I said, until she sorts out that mindset, she won't even get 30k. She'll be getting 25. Do you know when they came back to her, do you know what they said to her? They said, yeah, we're not going to offer you the role. This is an organisation that headhunted this woman. They said, no, we don't think you've got enough experience in this field. No. The reason why they think she hasn't got enough experience in that field is because she valued herself at such a low rate that they thought, hang on a minute. The rate that she's now said that she wants versus the skills that we saw on her CV that caused us to headhunt her, there's a mismatch. So we're going to take it that she's too junior for the role. Do you know what it is to be headhunted? Because I'm headhunted all the time. This is where an organisation or somebody from an organisation, or maybe you're working in a big organisation and there's external organisations working there and they've seen something in you that is exceptional. Headhunted. They're not going through the normal route, telling you to apply. They're coming directly to you and effectively offering you a job. That's what headhunting is. You're sizing them up. They're sizing you up. This girl potentially could have earned 70 grand. She valued herself at 30. And I put it to you, she probably could have got slightly more than 70 for that particular area that she works in. And she said, that's what I'm comfortable with. Well, that's what they weren't comfortable with. That's why they didn't offer you the role. And honestly, when an organization headhunts you and you undervalue yourself and they said that you're too junior, you need to check yourself. Because this is not about them. This is about you. I've given you the tools. What more? What more can I give? I've given you the tools. I've given you a podcast. I've given you a masterclass. What else can I do? I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I had to go to therapy. Listen, when you are from an African home, and I speak specifically for myself here, a Nigerian home, you're dealing with poverty mindset, comparison. If you're the oldest child like me, you're dealing with having to always be the one that deals with it first. Whereas the younger ones are the ones that almost benefit from the lessons because they don't have it as hard. So the responsibility is a lot on your shoulders. Comparison, when parents compare children, I was from that generation. My mum will compare me to her friend's child or children. And they seemingly on the outside are doing well. And then you'll just see them in the Evening Standard. Yeah, this one, HMP, 4 or 5 years, burglary and robbery. I'll just be looking at my mum. Mrs. Comparison, hello. But as a black woman, as black women that we are, there's a lot that we carry on our shoulders. So my thing is, if you know that you are not where you need to be, if you know you have a limiting mindset, sometimes you have to consider the exploration of therapy to work through it. Because all that's going to happen is a build-up of resentment and bitterness as you watch other people realise their goals, realise their earning potential. Listen, it was before that I used to, and this was before like Toya Talks took off, and I would buy luxury items and I'd save up and I'd work so hard and I would get lambasted on Snapchat. People would cuss me. Oh, you think you're this and gang. And I would internalize it. And I would go onto Snapchat and be like, guys, I'm not going to show any luxury items anymore because I don't want to upset anybody or make anybody feel... You know what I realized very quickly? If people are uncomfortable with black luxury items or black luxury assets or black luxury accomplishments, that's because you ain't doing what you need to do to realize your luxuries. And I'm not going to not enjoy mine where I want to do it, how I want to do it, and on whatever platform, just to help you feel better about yourself. I ain't fucking doing it. I'm not doing it. If I want to go on social media and show something that I bought, that is my prerogative. It's not my job to make you feel comfortable in your self-limiting poverty mindset. Listen, poverty is an existence and it also is a mindset. I've existed in poverty and I've existed in the mindset. Listen, I remember when I was at Goldman Sachs and I got my first salary, I started shaking. Do you know I didn't spend that salary, nothing out of my salary, for 2 days? Because I couldn't believe that me, the child of 2 first-generation immigrants from Nigeria that came here with nothing, could earn that. After tax, I was like, what? Me? I thought the bank would call me or work would say they overpaid. Because that was more than my mind had ever allowed me to imagine that I could earn. That's how limited my mindset was. This is like imposter syndrome. No, this can't be me. No, this somebody else deserves this. I could never be, in my mind, I can't be the face of this. No, this is, people like me? No, we don't earn this. Struggle is not intrinsic to our existence as black women. What should be intrinsic to our black existence as black women, success, accomplishment, breaking ceilings, that should be intrinsic to who we are as black women. So let me help you to understand. And I'm going to say it right here, right now. And I don't give a fuck who it offends. I just don't give a shit. Like you all, I wake up early in the morning. I work my ass off. Like each and every one of you. I get taxed like each and every one of you. Anytime I'm indulging in whatever, understand that to get to that point of luxury and indulgence, I had to walk through the valley. I had to get out of my own mindset to even believe that I could achieve this. So when I'm enjoying, I don't want no one telling me nothing. I'm not going to be humble in my enjoyment. Because listen, I was humble in my struggle. I can't be humble in my enjoyment. No way. No. I'm going to post this on my Instagram stories when the podcast goes live. And I'm going to read it for you guys. Good morning, Toya. I hope you are well and have had a lovely week. I just wanted to send you a message today, thanking you again for just being great in sharing your knowledge and experiences encountered in the workplace. You are truly inspiring. I'm not sure if you'll remember me, but over a year ago, I actually left a contract role to pursue my career in marketing and was offered a full-time role. A year later, I've now been offered a role elsewhere, but here's the thing I learned from you. Negotiation. Because when I tell you the offering salary and my expected salary was two different figures, but all knowledge I've gotten from you, watching your stories and listening to your podcast over the years really helped me, because they actually ended up accepting my initial requested base salary. Anyway, I say all this just to say a big thank you. God bless you and have an amazing weekend. That's why I do Toya Talks. That's why I do the masterclasses. This young lady listened to what I said. She bought a masterclass. I don't even remember. The thing is, when I'm helping people, I don't make a list. I just do. If I'm prompted, I do. This young lady has used the podcast and the masterclass to change careers, number one. So she probably bought the CV masterclass as well. Then she bought the negotiation masterclass and then used those skills to get offered a figure that she never even thought was possible, but she trusted in her confidence, her source, her ability to negotiate, the skills that she got from the negotiation masterclass, and look at her now. You have to believe you're worthy. You've got to, because if you're waiting for somebody to come and give you a cup of confidence, that's not going to happen. Don't you know that the constructs that seek to oppress us need to keep us oppressed? They need to keep us oppressed, my dear. You'll see a pay bracket and you think that's all you can get. So you don't even try. And that's my issue. Some people don't even try. You don't even try because you're scared they're going to rescind the role. A role that they've invested in a interview process, a recruitment drive they've invested. That's time and money. And just because you're going to ask or negotiate salary, you think that's going to be enough to withdraw? Listen, let me tell you something. When you come to an interview with me, if I'm in the interview panel and you're not even trying to negotiate, believe me, I'm not going to help you. But I'm going to look at you like, do you know what you're worth here? Do you? When a man is offering you shit, when you're going on a first date and the man is sitting there telling you 50-50, or he's not even offering to pay, you know your worth then. But you don't know your worth when somebody has either headhunted you or you're going for an interview process and you've gotten so far down the process to get an offer, you still don't know what you're worth at that point. The stress of preparing for an interview, the stress of having looked for the job, done your CV, the stress of going through interview, which is probably more than one stage, then the stress of having to prepare mentally to go for an interview and you get an offer. Number one, do you pause and see that as an achievement? Because if you see it as an achievement on that level, that should boost your confidence. Then now what we're saying is, I need to negotiate. Because I know I deserve more than that. I know these people can't pay me what I'm worth. I know that my skills, what I can bring to this organization is priceless. But I will get what I deserve. I know within myself as a human, I have self-doubt about certain things. I have to give myself affirmations, words of affirmation. I have affirmations right in front of me. Let me read you my affirmations. And I put them on my vision board. And I call these affirmations, be kind to yourself. You are confident. You are bold. You stand in your truth. You are kind. You are a woman of your word. You can do anything. You are strong. You are kind-hearted. You are truthful. You are professional. You are a boss. You are determined. You are funny. These are things I look at every single day because I recognize that the battering of our confidence as Black women is a daily thing, that the constructs that have invested in to make sure that they keep us in a box. So I have to use that same energy to invest in my affirmations, where I tell myself who I am, tell myself what I am, and make sure I practically walk in that purpose. I don't have two heads. Do you understand? I don't have two heads. I've walked that walk with you. Like, we're walking it. I've done it. I've walked that walk. So for anybody that's using their chest to say anything to me, I'm ready for you. Because listen, at least people talk about crumbs. I didn't have that. But you know what I did have? 2 parents that knew that they needed to give us more than what they had. So if it meant washing pots, that's what they were willing to do. And then there is this, I think, when I saw my parents make those sacrifices for me and my brothers, I knew what hard work looked like, and I knew the reason why. But in every job I had before I entered my career, there was something to be learned. There were skills that I had to develop, and there's skills that I use now. So let me give you an example. So whilst working in retail, I learned customer service. I learned about human interaction with human beings from different walks of life. I learned that human beings are motherfuckers. Some people are deplorable human beings, but you have to learn to coexist with these people. That's what I learned in retail. In retail, I learned that there is politics, and that politics manifests in favoritism, and you have to learn how to navigate that to keep your job. When I was cleaning toilets, do you know what I learned? I learned discipline. I had to come in every day. I had to use a certain set of detergents to do certain things and certain anti-bacs for certain things. I learned discipline. You come in at 9, you do your shift, you take a 15-minute break and you go back to it again. Discipline. When I was working in Tesco's as a checkout girl, and I was also working in a cleaner in the same Tesco's, do you know what I learned? I learned how to juggle more than one thing at the same time. At the same time, I had to juggle roles. So I had developed the skill of multitasking. Multitasking is what I learned in Tesco's. When I was working in Goldman Sachs, do you know what I learned from there? I learned that there are people earning salaries that are not fantasy, it's people's reality. And it was attainable to me. When I was stacking them shelves in Tesco's, I learned that in order to get paid, you have to make a sacrifice. So every job I've ever had, every job, I learned something. When I was doing handing out pizza delivery, takeaway leaflets, do you know what I learned? I learned that you have to make sure you get cash in hand. If you don't get cash in hand, i.e. if you do not get what you deserve in the beginning, by the time you finish handing out those pizza leaflets, sometimes they may not even pay you. They'll tell you to fuck off. What are you going to do? So I learned negotiation there too. I learned get your money, at least half of it up front, and then you get the other half at the end of it. Because when I was doing that job, there was no such thing as contract. You just go there, take the leaflets, hand it out, hope you get paid. And some of them would take the piss. I would get half of that money up front, and then I'd hand out the leaflets. I'll go back to the shop, and they said to me they don't believe me that I handed it out. So I had to learn, get more than 50% up front. Right, this handing out these leaflets is £50. You're going to have to pay me at least £35 up front. I had to learn them skills. Every one of those skills I've mentioned to you I use now in my workplaces. Every one of those skills built my confidence. And at the time, I didn't realize it. Conflict resolution, I didn't realize that I'd be using it here. Yes, okay, education. I had to make sacrifices. Every time I went into the education system, from the point of my degree, I worked. I never took any breaks. No breaks had over here. There is a confidence that education gives you. I've always told you guys that. And even if it's not formal education in the form of like a degree or a master's, even in your roles, you still need to upskill. There is a confidence you get from that. So I am asking you, what practical steps do you need to build on or you need to develop to be able to position yourself in such a way that you feel confident in the leverage that you've built up to be able to open up the discussion about negotiation? What do you need to do? Because I've told you, like I've given you the tools, but you guys are the ones that have to choose whether to use those tools or not. I can't put your head in the water and tell you you're thirsty, drink. You have to know that this is water and possibly you might need it. Do you understand? It's all well and good. People will go in Clubhouse and just chat, talk. Some of them will just talk. But half of them, when it's time now to ask for annual leave, they'll be quivering like a flipping dirty rat. They'll come at this Clubhouse now and beat their chest. But when their manager's telling them to fuck off, they'll say, please don't speak to me like that. Rather than building the burn folder and doing the things that I teach here. There is no such thing as a job for life. I've said this earlier on in season 1 of the Toy Talks podcast. I told you it doesn't exist. See this pandemic. If you haven't taken some skills out of this pandemic, that's a problem. If you haven't taken skills out of this pandemic, it's a problem. There is humbleness and there is just straight being stupid. Listen, humility, listen. There's different ways of showing humility without having to trade in self-confidence. I don't know if you will follow a black queen called Ola Pelevangu. I didn't know about her until yesterday. Kelechi Okafor reposted something that Ola had posted. And I'm going to give a brief overview. And I've posted it on my personal Instagram stories. And I'll repost it again because it's very pertinent to this episode. So this black woman was out with her husband and her young children. I believe there's three young children. And she was in the supermarket. So when she was in this supermarket now, there was a white woman with her child and the child, an infant in a pram screaming, how kids do. So when they got to the checkout now, Ola's paying, like getting ready to pay for her stuff, like putting on a conveyor belt, whatever she's doing. And she could see in the checkout in front of her is this white lady, right? And this white lady, her child is literally screaming down the supermarket. Yeah? And the child is upset, frantic, whatever you want to call it. And this woman is frantically searching. And it's very clear that she's searching for her purse. So Ola goes over to the cashier and asks the cashier, how much is the bill? And the cashier said, £102. So Ola turns back to her husband. And her husband, obviously not necessarily understanding what's happening, can kind of figure it out. And basically nods at Ola. And Ola takes out her bank card and pays the bill for this white woman. Do you know what this white woman said to her? Oh, I'm shocked that you can pay for that. How does somebody like you, who dresses like you, can afford to pay £102? You look like you work here. How can you afford to pay this? No, thank you. She's questioning Ola's ability to pay because of, and it's not the way she's dressed or look, it's because she's black. Let's call it what it is. They call it a microaggression. That's a microaggression. You see me, let me be honest with you about something here, because you see me, no one knows me better than me. Ola is a black queen. God knows that. And God will bless her pockets double on top of double. But you see me, I'm capable of doing what Ola did, I'm capable. When I told Kay the story and I showed him the Instagram, Kay said, that's who you are. You would do that. You would pay for the woman. I said, yes. But at the point in which that woman now questions my ability to because of the way I look and dress, I will say to the cashier, excuse me, can you call your manager so I can get a refund? I would. I don't have the same grace as Ola. I don't have it. I don't. And let me explain the reason why. Because after that white woman had said it, obviously, Ola kind of, I can't remember what she said her response was. But then she had to be careful, right? Not to be aggressive, stereotype, you know it. The white woman then said, I will call my husband and ask him to transfer the money to you. So the woman's had chance to process this, and not at one time did she say thank you. And the cashier is looking at this white woman like, what the fuck? Because listen, let me help you to understand. £102 is not beans. Somebody sacrificed to earn that money. Time. Effort. So I'm just going to say to you what is in my mind. Even when a white woman in that situation needed to be saved, they always find ways to be racist. Violence in that her struggle was still targeted towards this black woman. Because Ola saw a mother who was struggling. And she could identify with this white woman because Ola's a mother. But that white woman can't identify with Ola on that same basis. Because how can this black person, black people don't earn money like this. Like, this black woman looks like maybe she even cleans the floor here. How can she be paying like this? That's how this white woman was thinking. But what was really evident to me, when I was scoping out this podcast episode, and I was hearing this story and I was watching it unfold, and, Ola on her Instagram page has spoken about it. White people do not think that we have the ability to, number one, realize our earning potential, and two, know that we deserve that. They bank on us not knowing. So when we do know, we shock them. It's like we rattle them. Do you understand? Even in that white woman's desperation, she still found space to be racist. She still found space to violently attack Ola. Yeah, that was a verbal violent attack of microaggression. Ola is better than me. I don't have that grace. I promise you, I don't have that grace. Because I would have done exactly what Ola done. Especially when you know that especially when you know that God is moving mountains in your life. I know that it was a selfless act, and that's me. I'm selfless. If I was in that position, I would have paid for that woman, but it would have stopped at the point when white woman said that. I would have said to the cashier, "I'm so sorry to be an inconvenience to you, but you've heard this, and as a black woman, I know what microaggression looks like, and on that basis, I need a refund because clearly my money ain't good enough for this white woman. Clearly, this white woman ain't struggling. And clearly, my money that I've worked for is not deserving of paying for her shopping. Because as far as she's concerned, I can't afford it. And I shouldn't be able to afford it. So I've shown her that I can. And even if I was working here, who cares where I work? That's got nothing to do with it. It's that for her racial profiling and stereotype that she's used against me means that I cannot sacrifice to earn this money to give it to somebody who not only racially has profiled me, but racially discriminated against me purely because I'm a black woman. Can I have a refund? That's what I would have said. And I would have said it with my chest. And I would have paid for my shopping too. And let that white woman know I've paid for mine. And that doesn't need Mary had a little lamb. That is on period. Yeah. Because I'm sick of it. I'm actually sick of it. Because it's almost like being tested as black women, right? Tested in how much we can take. I can't take it. I personally don't have the capacity. That's what white people, they've taught me that I don't have the bandwidth or the capacity. These are the words white people have taught me. I don't. That story. In my head, I was thinking, how would you even explain that to your kids if they were in earshot of that? How? But you would have to. And Ola's lucky. I think she said her kids didn't hear kind of what had happened. But even in showing grace, there are white people that will still find a way to tell us what our place should be. And then you've got some of you that stay in that place where they tell you your place should be, rather than break those ceilings. And then you'll get angry when you see other black women breaking those ceilings, and you'll start leaving nasty comments and start trolling them and start questioning them. How, oh, you said you earn that much. Give us proof. Why should a black woman have to prove to you what she earns? Why? Because I'm going to tell you this now so everybody can hear. I've been asked over the last month or two how much I earn, and it's no one's business. It's no one's business. It is my business. Your business should be concentrated on how much you earn and increasing your financial bracket. How much I earn is not your business, because we saw that young black lady that they called her 6-figure bae. The way she was dragged on social media, and a lot of it was because when she used her mouth to say that she's on 6 figures, it was rattling people who think that 6 figures is not attainable to them. When that young black lady told you all that she was on 6 figures, somebody somewhere used themselves to go and find out who her employer is and told her employer that she's breaching her employment contract by saying she's on 6 figures. So I don't owe anybody anything. I owe no one nothing. I'm never, ever, ever going to come on here and tell anybody what I earn. Just know that I'm good. Because it's none of your business. Why are we so consumed about what other people earn? But instead of you to work out how you can break ceilings and increase your earning potential, you want to know how much I earn. And some of you don't have shame. You'll come into my DMs and ask me that question as if I'm going to acknowledge you. I'm going to double tap and like it, but I'm not going to respond to you. Because you don't deserve a response. Because the time you're invested learning how much I earn, you've been in that financial bracket for 4 or 5 years. Learn how to get out of that. Why can't we learn to mind the business that pays us? And if your business doesn't pay you enough, then you need to buy a masterclass, or you need to go and listen to this podcast again. Sort it out. Stop looking for other black women to justify the position that you've committed to stay in. Stop it. Do you know what is offensive to me? What is offensive to me is when I'm enjoying the fruits of my labor, you're now questioning the fruits of my labor, i.e. telling me, oh, I shouldn't be posting this because it's a pandemic. Or because, not me directly, I'm watching other people doing it to other people too. Or you're now saying to me, oh, but you've had privilege. I remember that there was this one black woman, and I spoke about it, where she said I had privilege because I had education. I said, where was the privilege in my education when I had to clean toilets to pay my bills? That don't sound like privilege to me. When I was knee deep in debt. Let me tell you something that you guys don't know. My debt was so bad that I couldn't even pay my council tax. I never paid my council tax for 6 months, and I had bailiffs at my door. So if there was ever an incentive to increase how much I earn and to negotiate and get paid what I deserve, it was knowing that my inability to realize my leverage and my inability to increase in self-confidence meant that I couldn't even pay my bills. Do you know what it's like to have a bailiff knocking at your door and you have to stand behind your door or creep around your house? And before I leave the house, I have to look outside the window to see if there's any cars I don't recognize. That's where my poverty got me. I was poor. Do you understand? Or where I had to use the emergency and factor in the emergency electricity in my house. Yeah, don't go there with me. Don't ever in your life, ever question my journey. Because my journey is not only mine, it's authentic. So when I come on the podcast and the platforms and I create all these tools for you, it's so that you don't have to walk the same journey that I did. No one should have to walk the journey that I did if I've already walked it. I can tell you how to avoid walking it. And I'm giving you practical tools. I'm not like, you know how I am. I'm not like these people in Clubhouse. I will start telling you shit. But when you leave it, you're like, what tools can I walk away with? No, I actually give you the wording and tools to use. And then you decide not to use it. And then you question me when I've been using the tools. Don't go there. Don't go there. You have to leverage yourself. And this is why I say, be a subject matter expert in what you do. Educate and upskill. Your manager is not the key to your success. Project manage your career. All these things will build leverage for you to be able to negotiate. But some of you don't want to listen. What do you want me to do? I can't listen. I'm unwilling to help anybody that doesn't help themselves. That's on everything. How can you knowingly not negotiate? You've been in your role now a month and now you want to negotiate. You want to now get me involved in your negotiation. I've told many people before that tried that. I said, I can't help you. You've been in your job for 1 month. You didn't negotiate. And now you want to negotiate because you realize that the job you applied for versus the job you're doing is different. I could have told you that. That's employment 101. I've told I can't help you. You want me to make it easier? No. Because you see that L you're carrying, because you're now carrying it knowing that you should have negotiated, you'll never carry the L again. So some lessons you have to learn it the hard way because you didn't want to listen. And then you think you can, I'm going to call Toya. No, you ain't calling Toya, because the first question I'm going to ask you is, did you negotiate? And I know when someone's lying to me. Because I'll ask you, did you negotiate when you first offered the role? Okay, how did you do it? What was the bracket? You have to confess. I'm not stupid. I've been negotiating since I was a kid. I just didn't know I was doing it. I've had to take several L's for not negotiating at the very early stages of my career. Very, very early. I'm long in the game. I've been there for too long. An agency sent me an email telling me that, so-and-so is looking for a commercial contract lead. Is it a role I can consider they're paying? I think they put their 45k. I wrote back to the agency. I said, your email's really, really insulting because you've got my CV. I don't accept this salary. I never will accept this salary. Oh, so sorry, Toya. Oh, no. This email was sent to you incorrectly. No, it wasn't. You tried your luck with me. But you know that I know that you know I know. And they should know that I know my worth. I've done too much. Oh, some people say, oh yeah, but it's a pandemic, so what? People are still hiring in a pandemic. In fact, it's even more difficult to hire in a pandemic because a lot of these organizations have to really, really commit to this remote interviewing thing. And it's not easy. Some people do not come across very well remote interview. So when they've found a candidate that they're willing to offer a role, and you don't negotiate, more fool you. Listen. This episode is to shape the foundation of your thought process. That is what this episode is here to do. So if it's done that, then I've achieved what I want to achieve here. Because I could sit here and tell you about how to navigate the construct, everything. But until you're willing to do the work on yourself, you will always remain where you are. You'll watch your friends' earning potential go up. You will see people in your workplaces, their earning potential go up. And the only person that stays still and stagnant will be you. So my question to you is, when are you going to start doing the work in yourself for you to realize your goals, for you to propel yourself in life, and for you to open financial doors for yourself? When are you going to do that? Because if you're choosing to do that today, then number one, you've done very well because you've got to the end of the podcast. But number two, you need to start looking at the masterclasses that I've provided for you. Don't email me and say, Toy, how do I negotiate, when you've got a negotiation masterclass sitting there waiting for you on the toytalks.com website. Don't come and ask me that when it's there. It's only when you've used the tools. The questions you will ask me will allow me to know whether you've really understood what I've taught there. And I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people who have bought my masterclasses, especially the negotiation masterclass, I don't get a lot of questions because I answer everything. So I'm going to leave that one there. Those who have ears, let them hear. Those who do not want to hear will feel. Let's move on to the dilemmas. I've got quite a few dilemmas today. I say quite a few, but I may not get to all of them. But I've got enough dilemmas, and a couple of them I definitely want to talk about on the Toy Talks podcast. But also as well, I've received like a couple of DMs as well that I want to talk about. So let's start. Hi Toya, I've been following your page for maybe under a year, and I'm not even sure how I found your page. I've always enjoyed your Instagram stories, but didn't really pay attention when you mentioned your podcast. I'm a primary school teacher, and I just assumed, though I'm a black woman, it wouldn't apply to my field. Today, I saw your Toy Talks hoodies, which I love the look of. but wasn't really sure what they represent. So I thought I'd have a listen to your podcast. Wow, wow, wow. What a fantastic first episode. I felt like you were talking directly to me. I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of your podcasts. Thanks so much for taking the time to share your experiences and give the advice. I don't know how many times I'm going to say this or how many different ways to. This podcast, the Toya Talks podcast, is for any and every Black woman in the world of work, and it doesn't matter what area, what field, as long as you are working, this is for you. Even people who have created their own businesses, this is for you. You're a teacher, you are a financial advisor, you are working in retail, you are in the corporate world, you are not in the corporate world, this podcast is for you. Because I've worked in all those areas. You guys know where I've worked. So I've brought all those life lessons and skills here in one place for you. So anybody who overlooks it because you think, oh yeah, it's not for me because I'm a school teacher. So I've got friends who are teachers. They're avid listeners to the podcast because there's skills to be learned. And what I love about this young lady's message is that she was honest in her vulnerability. And I did say to her, I said, this podcast is for everyone, darling. And I'm so happy that the hoodies brought you here. The Toya Talks apparel brought you here. And now you've listened to the podcast, you can relate to it. Welcome. You know? So if you know anybody that you think that can benefit from some life skills in navigating the world of work, it is your duty to tell them about the Toya Talks podcast. So let's move on to the first dilemma. Hi Toya, I hope this email finds you well. Before moving on to my dilemma, I'd just like to thank you for providing a safe space for Black women to discuss and explore the nuances of work from our unique experience. I appreciate the opportunity to seek advice as I'm in a bit of a crossroads. Since starting my latest role in March 2020, I've only been in the office for 1 week, my first week, and since then I've been working from home due to the pandemic. Every couple of months they extend the timescale for which we must continue to work from home, which is fine as my team is able to do our job just as effectively working from home. My question is, do you think there would be any leeway to request my role to be permanently turned into a working from home role? This would enable me to have flexibility in where I can relocate to, as the lease on my flat is up soon. Although, of course, I won't tell them that, laugh out loud. Hope it's not a silly question. Genuinely unsure. Well, first of all, it says, I look forward to your response, kind regards. First of all, there's no such thing as a silly question. There's no such thing as a silly question. Secondly of all, I would say that this is a great question, and I'll tell you the reason why. I mentioned it in the last episode, but organisations are definitely seeing the benefit of remote working. They've seen an increase in productivity, and more importantly, they've seen that you don't have to be in an office to work. You can be remote. And organisations are realising that they can have the best of the best candidates because they don't have to be in the proximity of an office. They can be worldwide. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is look at your employment contract. What does it say in terms of a mobility clause? So it's a clause that basically talks about where you're able to work and things like that. And what I would then suggest is that you put an email to your line manager and copy human resources and say, I just wanted to reach out and ask that we can have a call to discuss my employment contract. As you know, we have been working remotely, and myself, I've been working remotely since I joined the organisation. I was in the office for 1 week. What has become clear is the increase in productivity working from home and the fact that I have the ability to work from home and this job can be done remotely. I would like to ask the question as to whether you would consider my role 100% remote, which would require a change to my employment contract. I look forward to hearing from you. What is the worst they can say? I think you should ask the question. And I think if you table it in that way, it allows them to know that 1, you have looked at your employment contract, and number 2, that there are advantages to working remotely. And if they say no, it's important to understand the reason why. And if they say no, can you come back to me, let me know the reasons why they've said no? Some organizations may move to a once a month or once a week type situation in the office. But again, I think organizations are going to be hard pressed because it depends on their attitude to the vaccine. If they believe that the vaccine is all seeing, all encompassing, and they think that this is the antidote to COVID, they would be a bit more resistant to having a role 100% remote. But I'm going to tell you this now from my perspective. If my boss tells me I need to come into the office, I'll be terminating my employment because I'm not going to anyone's office this year. Especially when I'm in a role that doesn't require me to be in an office. My internet speed is amazing. I've got 2 screens here. I can do my job, and my productivity is at least double what it would be if I was in an office with the distractions of the tea and biscuit brigade, the distractions of personalities and fucking office politics that is constantly shoved in your face all the time. Although we deal with it remotely, it's just a different nuance. So my position is, yes, you should explore the conversation. Yes, you should have the conversation, and you should make it formal, put it in writing. And I've given you some wording as well. So hopefully that helps you and that works. But yeah, I think, it's definitely something that organizations are exploring. I know that organizations are downsizing their estate, and they're realizing that they could save a lot of money. And I think there are also going to be some organizations that don't have the capacity, because they'll downsize and they won't have the capacity to have as much members of staff, and you'd have to book in to have a desk space. And I think, it'll be interesting to see how the commercial space reacts. But anybody who's in a situation where you want to have that conversation, make it formal, put it in writing. And then even when you have, if it's a video call where you discuss it, make sure you have a summary email, and they need to tell you the reasons why, if they say no, the reasons they've opposed it. But yeah, I definitely think it's something that you can and should explore. So let's move on to the next dilemma. And she's entitled it, You Are Amazing. Thank you. Hi, Toya. First of all, you are amazing. I would like to thank you so much for bringing so much passion and shedding light on so many issues Black women, like myself, have gone through over the years in the workplace. I love your podcast so much that I just binge most days. I have been so blinded in my own life and ways of thinking that I refuse to ever get to that place again. I've had my fair share of traumatic experiences in the workplace. I remember in my early 20s, fresh out of university, so eager to please and succeed. They now took my enthusiasm for being a doormat. I also became a target of stupid racist jokes, and even someone having the audacity to ask me, why do you think Black Lives Matter? Or, we can't see you in the company photos, so don't go back to take another one. Wow. I can't believe what I've just read. Wow. I have been so scared to lose my job in situations where I know I should have spoken up because I was right. My male manager swore and shouted at me in front of all my colleagues, all because he sent me an email to catch up, but he never followed up, so I chased him. And that's when he started to swear at me. F you and don't effing talk to me. I was so shocked, confused, and burst into tears in the toilet. No one defended me, and I never understood why, because I didn't do anything to disrespect him. Now I know how much traumatic abuse I suffered throughout my years of working. It's also sad to think so many of my sisters go through this in the workplace. Also, it's so true what you said about how family or relationship dynamics deeply affect our self-esteem. I can't wait to one day join your masterclasses. And I think she means the live events that I do. So I did a live event in 2018. I booked out a theatre hall, and I did a Toy Talks live event, and I am planning to do another one, but let me just continue. In fact, I will throw this in there and I'll be praying about it. If you are ever looking for someone to mentor, please know that I would love the opportunity to be mentored by you. Please keep me anonymous. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate your work and that you are amazing. God bless you. Thank you. Oh, that's such a lovely message. And, even me, coming here every week, giving you guys a podcast, sometimes I need encouragement as well, that I'm on the right track and that you guys are really benefiting. And to be fair, you guys, just like this lovely lady who sent me this email, you guys do reach out to me and tell me, how you've used the podcast and how you've used the platform and how it has enabled you to attain certain things. And it's the results that really makes my heart dance. You guys motivate me by utilizing the practical skills that I give you or teach you or show you or demonstrate to you. So thank you to this lovely black woman who's reached out to me. It's so lovely of you. And thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable in sharing. And I know it's not easy. You know, we go through so much in the world of work. So to be in a situation whereby there is a platform that will help you, I know how much it benefits people. So thank you for sharing that with me. Okay, so I'm going to go on. This will be my final dilemma, and any others I will discuss and read out on next week's podcast. So here goes. Hi, Toya. Hope you're well, and thank you for taking the time out to read my email. I've been a long-time fan of yours, an avid listener of your podcast, and an attendee of your first live Toya Talk show back in 2018. I valued it so much that I bought tickets for myself and 2 others to attend your second live show, which unfortunately had to be cancelled due to the coronavirus. Can I just say, I fully appreciate how you kept us updated and dealt with the refunds swiftly. I even wrote to you to admire your professionalism. On to my issue. My workplace is moving mad. So the subject is HR refusing to let me go. Okay, can I just say as well, this young lady has told me kind of what she does for a living and kind of their sector. And in order to protect her anonymity, I'm going to make up. Okay, so I'm going to have to make up a couple of things so that we can hide where she works, because it's quite obvious here. Okay, so I work in the public sector. In March last year, at the peak of COVID, I was redeployed to a government organisation, because she's given me the name, to assist with the rising number of certain claims made within this organisation. I should note, my normal role is I can't tell you what that is. Sorry, guys. And I've never worked in operations before. My manager informed me that I was being redeployed 1 day a week before I was expected to start. So while everyone was working from home, I was putting my health at risk by travelling into one of the offices. I know you're not a fan of lengthy emails, so I'll summarise from here. I received only 1 week's training before I started this redeployment role. At no point was I told that I could not access information about myself. Out of curiosity, I looked up my name. Upon returning to my formal role 2 months later, I was accused of gross misconduct on the basis that I should not have accessed my own information. After the investigation, the charge was reduced to a written warning, as most people who were redeployed did do the same thing, and you did the department a favour by agreeing to be redeployed. So that's the reason why they reduced the allegation from gross misconduct to a formal written warning. More recently, I applied for a 12-month loan opportunity to another government department. So what she means by that is that you can apply for a secondment into a different government department, right? And it's fixed for 12 months. So effectively, you're on loan from one government department to another. It's a promotion, and I was successful in the recruitment drive. HR and my line manager, enemies of progress, are refusing my transfer, apparently due to the written warning which is on my record until June. Nowhere on my official warning letter does it stipulate such. I also discussed the opportunity with my manager prior to me applying for the role, and she made no mention of such policy. Looking back at it, I wish I had contested the written warning, particularly as I was punished for something they didn't even tell me was against policy. I feel as though there is more to, this is more of a resourcing issue than anything else, as there's currently only 3 people in my team and the workload is immense as it stands. I've had a look at the guidance, and it states the employee must have no outstanding formal action due to unsatisfactory performance or attendance. Formal action means being under a review or following a formal written warning. I have no restriction on duties or promotion imposed as a result. Okay, so I'm going to read that again because it doesn't read well. I've had a look at the guidance, and it states the employer must have No outstanding formal action due to unsatisfactory performance or attendance. Formal action means being under review, following a formal warning, have no restriction on duties, or promotion imposed as a result of disciplinary action. If the last sentence is true, have no restriction on duties, promotion imposed as a result of disciplinary action, surely I have been informed that this was one of the consequences of a written warning. I'm so frustrated, legit in tears. I have a meeting scheduled with HR, but at this point, I feel as though resigning is the only option. Very sorry for the long-windedness, and my advice would be greatly appreciated. And your advice, would be greatly appreciated. So I read this and I was fuming. And I've replied to her and she hasn't come back to me. And until she answers my questions, I can't help her. So I'm going to read to you my reply. When she replies, I'm going to reread the dilemma and I'm going to give you guys my response that will help her. Hopefully it is in time before she has her HR meeting, but I haven't received a response from her. So this is how I replied. I said, "Hi, I've read your dilemma and I'm fuming. What they have done and attempting to do, I could bloody scream. Firstly, when is your HR meeting? And secondly, Auntie Toya is here. We are in this together. Whilst I'll share the dilemma on the podcast anonymously, I would like to help you, but I need you to answer a few questions. The first question, when is your HR meeting and who scheduled it and why? What is your desired outcome here? How long have you been working in this organisation? When you were given a formal warning, did the letter contain an appeals process, giving you an option to appeal the decision? And based on your answers to the above, I will advise you. No more tears. We will try and sort this out. The treatment is unacceptable. And if the guidance you quoted is accurate, then HR has no basis in not allowing you to take up this secondment role. Please come back to me as soon as possible to enable me to help you in advance of your HR meeting. Kind regards, Toya." So this is going to be we don't really do this on the Toy Talk podcast, but this will be a dilemma that I will answer when she comes back to me. Because unless she does, I can't help her. And this is what I try to say to people. When you have a dilemma, there are questions I ask you, and it's to guide how I respond, because there's not a blanket response, and it's based on what outcome you are seeking. But very high level, top level, this is what I'm going to say to you. If you are accused of gross misconduct, or you are accused of anything, and you're given a written warning, or they have disciplined you in any type of way, you are allowed to ask for the appeals process. The appeals process needs to be given to you. And you need to understand within yourself if you have a basis for appeal. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I always tell you guys, stop speaking to these managers without writing a summary of what happened. Because this young lady basically said that she spoke to her manager about this role, and the manager never kind of mentioned that she couldn't apply or whatever. But I question whether she then followed up with an email to her boss, which basically would have detailed that information. And she could have used that as evidence to HR when they're now trying to get in the way of this secondment. Thirdly, leaving is not always the answer. There are ways and mechanisms, and there are things that you can utilise to kind of deal with this situation. But I know in the heat of emotion that this is a lot. But you and I both know, when you were given that formal written warning, you accepted it. And it's because you accepted it, it's now on your file. I don't know about anybody else. I've got a big problem with people putting things on my file. I'm going to tell you this now. If I've been in an organisation more than a year, I always ask for my file. Under the Data Protection Act, I ask for full disclosure of my file because I want to know what they have. Especially when you leave as well. And people, you could get a standard reference, but I just want to know what organisations have on file against me. Especially if I know I'm going to be in an organisation for a long time. For me personally, I've told you guys, I don't really stay longer than 18 months to 2 years in an organisation. But if I made the decision to stay longer, then I would want to see what's in my file. I have every right to ask. That's the first thing. Secondly, when they reduced it from gross misconduct to a formal written warning, they would have given you information, and that you should have asked them, why have you now decreased the accusation? This young lady refers to them as charges. And that gave me a window to how she's feeling. You feel attacked. You feel like you're in court defending yourself. And that's why you've reached out to me. So I would ask you again, if you could please reply in advance of your HR meeting. If you're listening to this and you're literally about to go to your HR meeting, you've listened to the podcast, you know the platform, everything has to be written down, summarized, however you want to do it. But the basis of you challenging this is on the guidance. I would say number one is based on that guidance. And number two, you need to have your burn folder. You need to have some type of evidence. You can't go in there empty-handed, because what you're doing is you're defending your ability to take on this role that you've been offered, which you have classified as a promotion. You have to be seen to have been unfairly treated. And if you can prove that by the lack of the use of that guidance, if you can prove it, they have to give you the secondment. So please reply. I hope this high level kind of response helps you. But again, it's not as personal because I don't know the answer to the questions that I've posed to you. So guys, I'm going to draw this episode to a close. That's what I'm going to do. And as I draw this episode to a close, I just want to end on this. There has been, from what I can see, a big media push about this vaccine. And it seems to be the positioning of centering black people and ethnic minorities. And I hate the word ethnic minorities, but these are the words that they're using, as a low uptake on the vaccine. My view is this: Black lives didn't matter to racist white people. They have never treated us like our lives mattered. The NHS mistreats black women and mistreats black people in general, I would say. And now suddenly you want us to take the vaccine. We should trust you. We shouldn't ask any questions. My personal position is this: I have no view on anybody who wants to take the vaccine. That's a matter for you. That's a life decision for you. But for me, Toya, I need to see the outcome of further study. Yeah? I am a healthy black woman. I have a great immune system. I don't get sick. So if I'm ill, it's be like period pains or I've got an odd cold, but I don't get sick in the true definition of what sick means. Therefore, why would I, a healthy person, vaccinate? Why? It's like the flu. I've only had the flu once in my entire life. So why would I yearly get the flu jab? That's my position. I know organisations will be putting pressure on a lot of you to get the vaccine. But I'm going to let you know now that it would be the organisation will be very hard pressed to make that a prerequisite for hiring people. They will, but they'll try. They'll try. And if you are in that position, I need you to email me at hello@toytalks.com. I have some emails or templates that you can send out, because they cannot do that. It's discriminatory in nature to say, I will only hire this person because they've had the vaccine. Because it's effectively saying, I'm only going to hire this person because they're white and my organisation is white. It's the same thing. It's discrimination. Now, I think organisations will try and use the health and safety clause, and they'll try and change contracts to include the vaccine. Again, they're going to be hard pressed. It's going to be difficult, and it's going to take one person to teach them and give them an example. They'll pay through the nose and they'll realise they can't do it. For me personally, I respect anybody who decides not to take the vaccine. I respect people who decide to take the vaccine. But the reality is this: the adverse reactions that people are facing because of taking the vaccine has not been properly explored. They seem to be downplaying it. They don't want to discuss it. And I need to understand the mortality rates as a direct effect of the vaccine. I also want to understand what studies have been done as a result of taking the vaccine. And I want to understand the efficacy. If I take that vaccine today, am I going to be taking it every 6 months? Is that going to be a part of my life? And therefore, what are those long-term effects of taking a vaccine every 6 months? For me also, I'm at the back of the queue. I've placed myself at the back of the queue because I don't mind if Boris, when he identifies all his kids, I can stand at the back of that queue. I do not trust the government. I don't trust the comms that are coming out, and I think it's very dangerous to center black people and minorities as not having this vaccine, almost to make us feel as though if there is an increase in infection rate, it will be because of us, and that's not the truth. It will be because white people have only recently learned how to wash their legs and wash their hands, and we have to time them and tell them it's for 20 seconds. White people are learning that water and soap can be used together. That will be why we have the increase, because some white people think that they're above face masks. And people don't understand that just because the sun comes out doesn't mean that coronavirus will take a break for the summer so that we can enjoy. If people do not learn from the lockdowns and from this pandemic, it means that we'll always see a rise in infection rates during certain times. So what really needs to happen is people need to have education in terms of cleanliness and health, because some people don't have no personal health. Some people don't understand cleanliness. Do you understand? Some people are still learning that you can't just use your hands to wash your body. You have to use like a scrub or, a sponge, or I use this Nigerian net to wash. Some people are learning that you can use that on your body and it's not just there to be stared at. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. If you have any work-related dilemmas, you will be kept anonymous, but please feel free to email hello@toytalks.com. If you want to follow the goings-on on the Toy Talks platform, then please follow the website www.toytalks.com. If you are interested in following me on social media, my personal Instagram page is Toya_Washington. The Toya Talks Instagram page is Toya_Talks. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Toya_W. Snapchat is Toy Washington, all one word. And of course, Clubhouse is Toy Washington, all one word. If you want to use the hashtag on social media, it's Toya Talks. And I'm going to see you guys again next week for a brand new episode of the Toy Talks podcast. Thank you guys for listening. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review the podcast, or whatever platform that enables you to rate and review. Please rate and review. It really, really helps me out. Thank you for your DMs. Thank you for your feedback. Let's keep talking and let's keep interacting. Thank you for listening to the Toy Talks podcast. My name is Toy Washington, and you have been listening to the Toy Talks podcast.